What if I told you that the secret to being sexually irresistible has nothing to do with how you look, how much you show, or how available you are? That the real power, the kind that draws people in and keeps them thinking about you long after you've left the room, comes from something deeper, quieter, and far more rare. Because being desirable isn't about giving more of yourself away, it's about knowing exactly what to hold back. When it comes to being sexually irresistible without being easy, one of the most powerful principles to understand is the idea of high value over availability. This isn't about playing games or pretending to be busy. It's about deeply recognizing your worth and living in a way that reflects it. People are naturally drawn to what they can't easily have, but more than that, they're drawn to what they believe is worth having. When you treat yourself like a high-value individual, someone who doesn't just give their time, energy, or attention to anyone, you send a powerful signal to the world. You're not trying to be chased. You're showing that only those who genuinely align with your values and intentions will get close to you. Think about how we treat things we work hard for. A person who wins a prize after a tough competition treasures it more than something handed to them for free. The same psychology plays out in relationships. When someone has to earn your attention, earn your trust, earn your intimacy, they value it far more. Not because you're manipulating them, but because you're showing that what you offer isn't cheap. It's not for everyone. That alone creates intrigue and desire. This is where many people get confused. They think being available, being eager, always texting back instantly, always saying yes to last-minute plans will make them more likable or attractive. In reality, it often has the opposite effect. The more available you are to everyone at all times, the less unique your energy feels. You stop being a rare gem and start feeling like a convenience. And nothing about convenience is sexually irresistible. Holding your value doesn't mean being cold or playing hard to get for the sake of it. It means having a life you're excited about, filled with purpose, friendships, and boundaries. It means not abandoning your plans or priorities just because someone showed interest. It means that if someone wants to be a part of your world, they have to show that they deserve to be there. Not because you're trying to punish them, but because you respect yourself that much. The interesting thing is, the more you focus on building a high-value life, doing things that inspire you, challenging yourself, pursuing your goals, the less you even need to think about how to appear irresistible. You become irresistible by default. There's a quiet power in someone who doesn't need to chase, who is open to connection but doesn't bend over backward for it. It's not about making someone feel like they're beneath you. It's about showing that you don't put anyone above yourself. People feel this energy. They sense when you're centered, grounded, and self-assured. They notice when you have standards that aren't based on insecurity but on self-respect. And that's where the magnetism begins. You don't need to perform, overshare, or prove yourself to anyone. The moment you realize you are the prize, not in an arrogant way, but in a calm, self-assured way, you stop seeking validation and start attracting interest naturally. In a world where so many people give themselves away too quickly, hoping to be liked, hoping to be chosen, being someone who values themselves enough to wait, to choose carefully, to be intentional, that stands out. That's rare. And rare is irresistible. Not because it's unattainable, but because it's worth the pursuit. That's the real difference between being easy and being truly attractive. Confidence is one of the most misunderstood and underestimated forces when it comes to attraction. People often think it's about having the loudest voice in the room, being overly assertive, or walking with a certain swagger, but true confidence is much quieter than that. It's not about what you project outward, it's about what you believe inward. And when someone is truly confident, it radiates in a way that draws others in effortlessly. There is something incredibly magnetic about a person who is completely comfortable in their own skin. They don't need approval, they don't seek attention, and they don't try to prove anything, they just are. And that authenticity creates a deep, irresistible pull. Confidence comes from self-acceptance. It's the result of knowing who you are, embracing your flaws, and not apologizing for the things that make you different. In a world full of people trying to fit into molds, someone who is unapologetically themselves stands out like a light in the dark. That doesn't mean you have to be loud or extroverted. Some of the most confident people are the quietest in the room. They're calm, observant, and deeply aware of their value, which makes others lean in, want to know more, and feel at ease around them. What makes confidence so sexually attractive is that it signals emotional safety. When you're around someone who's secure in themselves, you don't feel judged. You don't feel like you have to perform or impress. You feel accepted because that person accepts themselves. That level of comfort opens the door to deeper emotional and physical intimacy. You're not just attracted to their appearance, you're attracted to their energy, their groundedness, their certainty in who they are. Insecure people often try to compensate by overperforming, talking too much, over-explaining, oversharing. Confident people don't do that. They're not afraid of silence. They're not afraid of being misunderstood. They know their worth, and they don't need to convince you of it. That creates a kind of mystery, a kind of quiet intensity that makes others want to be around them more. You start to wonder, what is it about this person that feels so different? That intrigue builds attraction faster than any line or physical trait ever could. Confidence also allows you to set boundaries without guilt. It helps you walk away from people and situations that don't serve you, which only reinforces your value in the eyes of others. When someone sees that you're not afraid to lose them, it forces them to see what they might lose. That fear of loss creates desire, not because you're manipulating the situation, but because your self-respect puts you in a position of strength. You're not chasing anyone, you're attracting everything by being rooted in who you are. Another piece of this is how you carry yourself physically. Confident people don't slouch into spaces. They enter with presence, they make eye contact, speak clearly, and listen intently. They're not afraid to take up space. Not in an aggressive way, but in a grounded, secure way. That body language alone can make you 10 times more attractive, because it sends a message: I'm not here to prove anything. I'm here because I belong. The truth is, confidence doesn't come from other people's opinions. It comes from keeping promises to yourself, from building a life that you're proud of, from pushing through discomfort, from learning who you are and choosing to love that person anyway. That kind of inner work shines through everything you do, your conversations, your choices, even your silence. And when that energy is present, it's unmistakable. It's not about seduction. It's not about playing games. It's about owning who you are, fully and honestly. And that's what draws people in on the deepest level. Emotional maturity is one of the most underrated qualities when it comes to being sexually irresistible. Most people focus on the surface, looks, charm, physical attraction. But what really makes someone stand out is how they carry themselves emotionally. When you're emotionally mature, you operate from a place of inner calm rather than emotional chaos. You're not reacting to every trigger, not seeking constant validation, and not riding the highs and lows of external approval. That stability becomes incredibly attractive because it creates a safe, grounded energy that people are naturally drawn to. In a world where so many people are driven by insecurity or impulsive behavior, being someone who is emotionally centered is rare, and that rarity creates desire. Emotional maturity is about owning your emotions without letting them control you. It's about feeling deeply without becoming unstable. When someone upsets you, you don't lash out, ghost them, or spiral into anxiety. You pause, reflect, and respond thoughtfully. That simple shift in how you deal with conflict or tension says a lot about your self-awareness. People feel more comfortable opening up around someone who won't explode, shut down, or guilt trip them. That sense of emotional safety creates a powerful connection because it allows real intimacy to grow without fear or drama. When you're emotionally mature, you're not obsessed with being liked. You understand that not everyone will be for you, and that's okay. You don't chase people who pull away. You don't play games or try to manipulate outcomes. You understand your value, and you trust that the right people will see it without you needing to prove it. That quiet confidence is magnetic because it shows you're not emotionally dependent on others to feel worthy. You've already built that worth from within. This kind of energy shifts how you move in dating and relationships. You're not trying to impress, you're trying to connect. You listen more. You observe more. You ask better questions. You care about compatibility more than chemistry because you understand that a true connection goes beyond the surface. That awareness makes you more selective, and being selective instantly increases your value. People want what isn't easily impressed. They want to rise to meet your level when they see that you hold yourself to a high standard emotionally. Emotional maturity also means you know how to hold space for others without losing yourself. You can be empathetic without becoming a doormat. You can be compassionate without tolerating disrespect. That balance is powerful because it shows you have boundaries, but those boundaries come from strength, not fear. When someone sees that you can handle difficult emotions, yours and theirs, they trust you more. Now, trust is one of the most foundational elements of true attraction. There's also an unspoken energy that emotionally mature people carry. It's the way they remain composed when others get reactive. It's the way they can express vulnerability without making it someone else's responsibility. It's the way they don't need to be the center of attention to feel validated. That quiet, grounded energy is unforgettable. It draws people in not with force, but with gravity. You don't have to chase anyone when your presence naturally makes people feel seen, safe, and respected. People are starving for connection that doesn't come with emotional chaos. They crave stability wrapped in warmth. They're drawn to people who make them feel calm, understood, and accepted, especially in a world that's so fast, loud, and full of surface-level noise. When you become that person, you become unforgettable, not because you're trying to be, but because who you are makes people feel something rare. That emotional depth creates a space where attraction can move from shallow to powerful, from fleeting to lasting, from interest to desire. Flirtation is often misunderstood. Many people think that to be flirtatious you have to be overly available, overly suggestive, or constantly feeding attention to the other person. But real flirtation, powerful magnetic flirtation, is not about giving yourself away. It's about creating tension without surrendering your standards. It's about letting someone feel your interest without ever making them feel like they've already won you over. That balance is what makes someone truly captivating. You don't need to expose everything, say yes to every invitation, or act overly eager. In fact, it's often your restraint, your poise, and your ability to stay rooted in yourself that makes you so appealing. Being flirtatious without being submissive means you can show your interest, enjoy the moment, and be playful, all while maintaining your personal boundaries. You're not afraid to laugh, tease, or let your charm show, but you're also not bending over backward to be liked. You're not adjusting your personality just to be more desirable. You're bringing your full self to the interaction and trusting that if it's the right fit, that will be enough. That self-trust is what makes the energy between you and the other person so electric. You're engaged but not needy. You're open but not exposed. What's even more attractive is when you're able to express desire without attaching yourself to the outcome. You might give a compliment, hold eye contact a little longer, or make a subtle joke that shows interest. But you're not waiting for a response to validate your worth. That kind of self-in-depth confidence is rare. It sends the message that while you're enjoying the interaction, you're not dependent on it. That's the kind of energy that makes someone lean in closer, want to know more, and start investing more effort. Flirtation without submission also means you're not afraid to say no. You can still smile, still be kind, but you know how to assert your limits. Whether it's saying no to a late-night text, refusing to drop your plans last minute, or not diving into overly intimate conversations too quickly. Your boundaries communicate something powerful. You respect yourself. And that self-respect becomes the filter through which others begin to see you. It shifts the dynamic from, I hope they choose me, to, let's see if this even makes sense for me. That subtle shift in mindset changes everything. The more secure you are in your standards, the more naturally flirtation becomes a fun exchange rather than a desperate attempt to win someone over. You're not using flirtation to gain attention. You're using it to express joy, confidence, and curiosity. That makes it light, effortless, and deeply attractive. And the person on the receiving end doesn't feel pressure. They feel invited. They feel challenged. They feel that they need to step up to truly earn your time and attention. People confuse flirtation with submission when they believe they need to give something up to be noticed, whether it's their values, their pace, or their comfort. But the truth is, when you flirt while staying firmly rooted in who you are, it creates a rare dynamic. You're both intriguing and respectful. You show just enough interest to spark curiosity, but not so much that you lose your sense of self. You let someone feel seen without making them feel like they've already conquered you. This is the secret of powerful attraction. It's not about withholding or playing cold. It's about knowing how to engage with warmth and charisma while keeping your emotional posture strong. That dance between openness and self-control. Standards are one of the most powerful tools for building true desire. They are not about being rigid, controlling, or difficult. They are about clarity. When you have high standards, you are clear about what you want, what you will accept, and what you will not tolerate. That clarity sends a strong message. You know your value. You're not trying to be better than anyone, but you are unwilling to settle for less than what aligns with who you are. This alone shifts the dynamic between you and anyone who's interested in you. It places you in a position of choice rather than one of desperation. That positioning is what makes you irresistibly attractive. In the early stages of getting to know someone, people are always picking up signals, even the ones that aren't spoken. If you make yourself too available, say yes to every request, ignore red flags, or tolerate disrespect just to keep someone around, you're quietly telling them that your standards are low or that you're willing to sacrifice them to be liked. And as much as someone might appreciate the attention or convenience of that at first, it doesn't lead to deep respect or desire. People value what they have to rise up to. They value what challenges them to become better. If you set a high standard and hold it consistently, you invite the other person to meet you there. That challenge creates excitement, effort, and investment. The beauty of high standards is that they filter out the people who were never going to respect you in the first place. They act as a boundary that protects your energy. You don't waste time wondering where things are going or why someone isn't treating you right. You already know the answer. They didn't meet the standard, so instead of lowering it, you move on. And that ability to walk away not in anger but in calm self-respect is incredibly powerful. It forces people to take you seriously. It forces them to evaluate whether they're showing up with the intention, effort, and maturity you require. If they aren't, they'll fall away. And if they are, they'll step up. Setting standards isn't about testing people or creating hoops for them to jump through. It's about communicating your needs clearly and, more importantly, living in alignment with them. It's not just saying, I want someone who respects me. It's showing that the moment someone disrespects you, you disengage. That consistency is what teaches people how to treat you. It's not what you say that matters. It's what you tolerate. And if you tolerate less than you deserve, you'll always attract people who give you less than you want. High standards also make you more emotionally stable in relationships. You're not constantly worried about whether someone likes you because you're too focused on whether you like them. You shift from being the performer to being the chooser. That mental shift changes how you carry yourself, how you speak, and how you react. You're not shaken by every little test or mind game, because you're not here to win anyone over. You're here to connect with someone who fits your vision, your values, and your lifestyle. That self-possession is rare, and people notice it. They feel the difference between someone who needs love and someone who chooses it from a place of wholeness. When you maintain high standards without becoming bitter or closed off, you radiate a kind of calm, grounded energy. You're approachable, but not accessible to just anyone. You're kind, but not naive. You're open to love, but not desperate for attention. That balance makes you stand out in a world where so many are willing to compromise who they are for connection. By being unwavering in your standards, you invite something deeper, more meaningful, and ultimately more fulfilling. That kind of energy doesn't just attract, it captivates. Mystery is one of the most underrated yet potent elements of attraction. Not mystery in the sense of playing games, hiding who you are, or being vague for no reason, but mystery in the sense of not giving everything away too quickly. In a world that moves fast and encourages oversharing at every turn, holding something back can be deeply magnetic. It creates space for curiosity, and curiosity is the fuel of desire. When people can't immediately figure you out, when there are still layers to uncover, they stay intrigued. That slow unfolding makes them want to keep showing up, asking questions, and investing effort. Being mysterious isn't about withholding the truth or being emotionally unavailable. It's about allowing someone to discover you gradually. You don't need to put your entire life story on the table in the first few conversations. You don't have to explain every past relationship, every insecurity, or every detail of your day. What makes someone fascinating is when there's more to learn, not just about where they've been, but how they think, how they move, what they believe. When you don't overshare, you allow people to lean in instead of pulling them in. You create space for attraction to breathe and grow. This kind of mystery works best when it comes from a place of self-possession. You're not trying to be elusive or distant. You're just focused on being fully present in the moment, not rushed to prove yourself. You're not giving someone a highlight reel of your life to impress them. You're showing up as you are and allowing connection to happen organically. That patience, that subtle restraint signals confidence. It says, I don't need to sell myself because I know I'm worth getting to know. People often underestimate the power of silence in conversations. When you speak with intention and don't feel the need to fill every gap with noise, you allow the other person to come forward. You let them carry part of the interaction. That exchange creates balance, and more importantly, it builds curiosity. When someone walks away from a conversation with you feeling like there's more they want to uncover, they'll think about you. They'll replay your words. They'll wonder what you didn't say. That's what creates real emotional gravity, when your presence lingers in their mind. Mystery also applies to how you express interest. You don't need to be overly obvious or constantly available to show someone you like them. Sometimes it's the subtle gestures, the passing glance, the quick smile, the way you ask a thoughtful question that says more than a grand declaration ever could. You're not pretending to be indifferent. You're just letting attraction build naturally. That sense of balance, where someone knows you're present but still slightly out of reach, makes you unforgettable. In relationships, mystery keeps the dynamic alive. It keeps things from becoming stagnant or predictable. When your partner or love interest knows that you have a life outside the relationship, goals, passions, dreams they're not yet part of, it keeps them inspired to stay engaged. It makes them want to continue exploring who you are, and not because you're hiding anything, but because you're always growing, always evolving, always offering new layers of yourself as trust deepens. Mystery isn't about being closed off, it's about being intentional. It's about offering parts of yourself in a way that feels natural, not rushed. It's about knowing that your story is worth telling, but not all at once. When people feel like they've earned each layer of who you are, they appreciate it more. They see your depth not as something you flaunt, but as something you quietly carry. That makes your presence powerful and your energy unforgettable. In a world where everyone's shouting to be noticed, the one who moves with quiet depth will always stand out. Being sexually irresistible without being easy comes down to a powerful combination of self-respect, emotional depth, and intentionality. It's about showing confidence without arrogance, flirting with presence but not submission, setting high standards that reflect your worth, and allowing mystery to unfold naturally. When you carry yourself with calm strength, when your energy is rooted in who you are rather than who you're trying to impress, you don't chase desire, you inspire it. The most magnetic people aren't loud or flashy, they're grounded, discerning, and unapologetically themselves. That's what makes you unforgettable.